Thank you, Daisy. Good afternoon, good morning to everyone. Craig Smith here from TaxSlayer, of course. And I'm just going to be talking today a little bit about the Customer Portal, which is a new feature that's going to be available for the 2021 software. This has been a kind of a hot topic of conversation over the past few weeks, and last time I was able to speak about this last week, I was only given 8 minutes. Not a lot of time to get through it, but fortunately, I got more time today to talk about it. So, Sharice, if you want to go to the next slide, we can go ahead and jump on in. So, the Customer Portal, like I mentioned earlier, is going to be available in the 2021 application for all licenses that have, or all sites, I should say, of TaxSlayer Pro Online. So, anybody with the Pro Web version of our software, as long as you have the appropriate security templates assigned to your logins, you have access to the Customer Portal. And kind of the intent behind this feature, this is new to the VITA TCE world. However, it has been a part of our professional software for the past few years. So it's not new to us per se as a feature, but it is going to be new to your world and to your partners. So the Customer Portal is basically a repository where you can have the taxpayer upload documents that can be shared between the preparer and of course, the taxpayer. And they can also have an avenue of communication back and forth. So some of the intent behind it is it's going to allow the preparer to share a copy of the return for quality review purposes. You can also have the taxpayer sign the documents digitally from wherever they are using, a laptop, desktop, or, mobile device, iPad, iPhone, something like that. And of course, once those documents are signed, and of course we're going to go through all this with screenshots to help kind of bring home the point and what this Customer Portal is going to look like. But the preparer can also share and make available a copy of that signed return to the taxpayer, so they don't have to come back into the office or the site to get a copy of their return, if they are doing a remote style return preparation. And I mentioned there is a communication channel between the taxpayer and preparer, and we're also looking to be able to add that ability between the quality reviewer as well, just to have multiple levels of communication in order to just make this more robust for everyone. And then one of the things we're also going to be adding to this particular enhancement feature here is the opportunity for the taxpayer themselves to see if their return, both federal and state, has been either accepted or rejected. So that'll be a big help as well. Let's go ahead and continue on to the next slide. Kind of hop into more about it, what it looks like, and how it's going to look to you. So while we're switching to the next slide, I want to go ahead and mention that if you pay attention to the VITA TCE blog, you probably saw that last week we released the training guide and training video for Customer Portal. So that information is available on the blog if you want to go check it out. It's one of the top posts, so it should be right there on the home page. All right, so I mentioned before, but the Customer Portal is available to all VITA TCE TaxSlayer Pro online sites. And again, access to this is going to be determined by security templates. And we are looking to default access to some of the predefined security templates that's delivered with the software. Customer Portal works in conjunction with scanned documents. It's actually how the preparer themselves will access uploaded documents by the taxpayer. So we'll look at that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So in addition to Customer Portal being available to all sites in 2021, so is scanned documents. In the past few years, it's kind of been a pilot program where you had to request access in order to use scanned documents, but now it's going to be available across the board to any site. Whether you're going to use it or not, it's always going to be there. All right, so how do you actually, as a preparer, get started with the Customer Portal? So there's 3 access points. One of the first things you need to note is you're not going to be able to create, as a preparer, a Customer Portal link for the taxpayer until after at least getting through the basic information of their tax return. So once you get through that point and you're getting to the point where you're entering in income documents and preparing the tax return, there's 3 access points to go ahead and create that Customer Portal link if you want to take advantage of it for that taxpayer. You can do it from the drop-down menu, which is underneath the taxpayer's name in the top right. On the left-hand navigation bar, there's also an opportunity there to create the Customer Portal And then again, on the submission page at the very end of a tax return, you can create a customer portal from there as well. Let's move on to the next slide. And the customer portal, like I mentioned, it can only be initially created after basic information is completed in the tax return. But at any point after that, you can always go back and create that customer portal for the taxpayer. So there's not a, if you miss it right after basic information, that's it. Like, no, you can always go back, get back into the tax return and create a customer portal link for a taxpayer. So this is what it's going to look like from the preparer standpoint to create that customer portal. So once you click on one of those access options in the return, you're going to see a page that looks like this. It wants to know the phone number and an email for that taxpayer on the tax return. Now the goal we have here is to auto-fill this information based on what's provided already in the tax return. So a phone number, obviously probably needs to be a cell phone in order to receive a text message to generate and create their account, or the email. And again, one of the features I think we mentioned before, we're hoping to have email address entry inside personal information so that you can go ahead and get that entered up front and have it already inside the tax return. So we're hoping to autofill this information here. And once you do that as the preparer, you go ahead and click continue. And it's going to send out an email if you want to move to the next slide, or text message to the taxpayer. So if you plan on actually sending out and creating a customer portal link for a taxpayer, you might want to give them a heads up to let them know that this is coming so that they can be on the lookout, make sure they don't accidentally delete it as a potential spam email or something like that. So they're going to get confirmation that a link has been sent, and it's going to let you know that you can always go back and resend the link should the taxpayer not get it. Maybe they accidentally deleted it. Whatever it is, preparer can always go back into that return, into the customer portal, and resend that same link. All right, let's go to the next slide. And this is what it's going to look like once it pops up from the taxpayer standpoint. You're going to get an email, and it's going to come from an address, taxstatusnow.com. Your secure portal has been created. And then that's just the body of the message. So depending on whether you're checking a mobile device, iPad, laptop, the visual might look a little different, but this is it in a nutshell. It's going to have a link there that you're going to, specifically generated for that taxpayer. They're going to click that link, and it's going to open up a new window for them. And at this point, we can go to the next slide and get into just how that taxpayer is going to create that portal account for themselves. So I don't know how everything's going to work at the site as far as letting the taxpayer know that you're going to create a customer portal and that kind of thing, but you might want to include some language that, once they create their customer portal account, to go ahead and maybe favorite that address, that web address, so they always have quick access to get back to it. But once the taxpayer clicks on that link initially, it's going to pop up a register your account page, and they're going to have to provide a username, a password, and we detail out what the password requirements are, and then enter in a phone number, a last name, and the last four of the SSN. Now that information, just for check and balances, it does need to match what's on the tax return, just to ensure that, this person should be creating this account for this return. They got that information, it all matches, and we're good to go. All right, let's go on to the next slide here. So you'll be familiar with this page once it changes on your end, but just like in TaxSlayer Pro Online, when you log in, there is MFA. And the taxpayer is going to have that same thing when they log into their customer portal account as well. They're going to also have to MFA to get in. All right. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide and take a look at customer portal from the taxpayer point of view. So if you haven't already watched the mini video that we have on the blog now for this, we broke it out into kind of what it looks like from the preparer standpoint and then what it looks like from the taxpayer standpoint. We wanted to split that up so it was specific to each other, so that hopefully this could be an opportunity for your sites to utilize maybe that taxpayer portion to share with taxpayers and clients at your site to give them an idea of what to expect. All right, so the taxpayer portal We're going to go into each of these sections over the next few slides, but in general, there's My Files, that's me, the taxpayer. That's where I'm going to go and upload documents to make available to the preparer. There's Preparer Files, which is essentially where I can see a copy of the tax return that's been made available to me by the preparer. And that's also where I can add in my signature so that translates to my tax returns and other documents. And of course, Messages, that's basically the communication channel between the taxpayer and the preparer. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide and take a look at that first menu I mentioned, My Files. So one of the questions you may be having is, what are the supported form types? I believe it was already listed in a previous slide, but pretty much most of the file types you're going to come across are supported for upload. So PDF, JPEG, PNG, things like that, you can all upload. The taxpayer can all upload into the customer portal. So, it's very simple, it's very straightforward. Just like any other program where they upload a document, they simply click upload. They can drag and drop, or go find the file type, save it on their device somewhere. And again, you can still use mobile devices in conjunction with the customer portal as well. So as they upload documents, you can see that information there on the top right screenshot. They can always click it to view it. And then it lets you know, as you continue to upload documents, how many particular files have been uploaded. Another question we've seen is how many documents can you upload, or what's the size requirement. And 5 megabytes per upload, and no more than 25 megabytes overall. All right, let's go on to the next slide. This is just a quick view in what the changes on your end. Once the taxpayer uploads documents, how the preparer is going to see them. The preparer is going to access those documents via the scanned documents. So those kind of work in conjunction so that the preparer can see those uploaded documents from the taxpayer. Sharice, we can probably move ahead 2 slides to go ahead and show the chat view between the taxpayer and the preparer.
Okay, Craig.
Something like that. It works pretty much the same way. And it's just traditional chat screens. And now, let's see, there we go. Let's keep going 2 more slides. So if the taxpayer sends a chat to a preparer through their customer portal, how does the preparer know that there's a chat that they need to check out? So the next time a preparer logs into Pro Online, they'll have a notification, which you should see on the bottom left there, that screenshot that says Show Chat 3 Unread Messages. That's how a preparer is going to know. So every time you log in, that's on the main office page. The bottom right-hand side of the screen is where you're going to see if you have any unread messages from any of your taxpayers that you're currently assisting. And you'll be able to, of course, see the chat history across the board for everybody there. So let's go ahead and move ahead 2 slides. We're going to stop on Preparer can make tax documents available for taxpayer. That's going to be the header of that particular screenshot. So once the return gets prepared, maybe it's at a point where you want to send a copy to or make available a copy to the taxpayer. There is the option here. Well, you can leave it right here. Okay. So there's a button on the Submission HB file that says Send Tax Return Documents to Customer Portal. All you got to do as a preparer is simply click that button, and then those documents, that return, is going to be made available to the taxpayer when they log into their own view. So let's go ahead and move up a couple slides to, I don't know if you have the same deck number on your side, but it's slide 18 of our presentation. This just highlights how the taxpayer adds their signature. And I'm almost done, so just a couple more minutes. So that view right there shows it from the customer standpoint. When they log into their customer portal and that preparer files, that's where they can access the document to take a look at their 1040 and print it, save it, whatever they need to do. has a long file name because it is encrypted. One of the biggest things around this feature is all of this is inside and housed in our servers behind our firewall, so it's very secure. So one of the things that the taxpayer can do, like I mentioned earlier, is add their signature. So there's an option within their customer portal inside the prepare files to add their signature, and they usually simply use the mouse if they're on a laptop or their finger if they're on a mobile device to just sign their name, and then they would click save, and it's automatically going to carry that signature to, the 1040, the 8879, consent, and any state document that needs a signature as well. It's automatically going to flow to that. And then that just kind of ends the presentation there. The next slide, Cherise, is just the signatures on the return, and that just lets you know the visual of what it's going to look like. Once they add that signature and saves it, it'll auto flow to the necessary documents for that taxpayer. And at that point, kind of a done deal. That's the customer portal in a nutshell. Hopefully next time I'll be able to go through this. We can do actual live visuals where I'm in the program itself. But that'll, of course, be coming in the enhancement webinar in December.
So we'll kind of rapid fire them for you. Will the taxpayer receive a text or email when we send them a message, or will they only know there's a message if they log into the portal?
So yeah, they're only going to know if they have a message if they log into the portal themselves. That was a question I'd had, to see if there'll be some kind of notification sent out, but at this point they would need to log in to see if there's any unread messages or anything like that.
All right, very good. Let's see. In order to sign the return, does it have to be an iPhone? I know you mentioned mobile devices, so is that wide open in terms of the devices that can access it?
Yep, completely wide open. So anything electronic that has internet access, computer, laptop, iPhone, iPad, Samsung, all that.
All right. Can a preparer pull up the tax return and tax layer in one window and then pull up a document from the customer portal in another window?
Yes, so that's a good question. So when you're inside the tax return, when you actually access, scanned documents, that's where the preparer goes to access any files uploaded by the customer. It opens in a new window automatically already, a new tab. So yes, you'll be able to separate those out.
All right, very good. Can either taxpayers or preparers delete files in the portal?
Taxpayers can delete documents they've uploaded in the portal, and then preparers, from the scanned document standpoint, to access those files, they can also remove them. But if a preparer logs into return, accesses scanned documents, and deletes the document, what I don't know is will it delete on the customer portal side for the taxpayer. That I do not know, but there is ability, at least on their own ends, to delete documents that have been uploaded.
All right, very good. Question, what if the taxpayer does not have an email address?
So there is an option to create a customer portal account via text. So if they have a cell phone that does receive text messaging, they can create a customer portal that way as well.
Okay. When a taxpayer signs, are all forms signed at once, or do they have to be individually signing each item, such as the consent form, 8079, et cetera, et cetera?
It's all one-stop shop. All the taxpayer has to do is add their signature in their portal, and then it's going to flow automatically to where it needs to.
Okay, very good. If the customer portal link is sent to the incorrect email or phone number, can it be corrected and resent to the correct one?
You should be able to update. So yeah, you should be able to update the email and phone, inside a taxpayer's return, and then go back to customer portal to resend that link. You should have the opportunity at that point to then correct and update any incorrections there.
All right. A little nuance on the signature part. For a joint return, does each person sign on the same form or under the same email, I guess, which is the question that is more important based on your prior answer?
Good question. So a married filing joint return, essentially that could be a shared login between the husband and the wife, the spouse, the partners. And if it is a joint return, there'll be two different signature spots inside the customer portal, one for taxpayer and one for spouse. They would just add their own signature there, but it's housed under one login.
All right, very good. Let's see. Does the taxpayer see all files uploaded by a tax preparer?
So the taxpayer will only see their return once it's made available to them by the preparer. So the preparer does need to be in the account, and then on the submission page that I showed a screenshot of making or sending the documents to the taxpayer or whatever, that's when it would then be made available to the taxpayer in their own customer portal after the preparer completes that action.
All right. There's a couple of questions similar to this, so I'll just ask this one. Does only the preparer see the chat and uploaded documents? What about the admin or super user? Will they be able to see that or not?
So anybody with the appropriate security template to access customer portal scan documents, when they access a return, will be able to see that. As far as chat history goes, I believe right now any preparer with, again, appropriate security templates can see chat history between preparers and the taxpayers. But at this point, I think only the preparer and taxpayer can actually communicate back and forth. But we're looking into at least making that available for any quality reviewers as well that may be assigned to a return. So that's something that we're looking into.
All right. And I'll go ahead with one or two more here, and then we'll let you go. Appreciate your time. This one says, does the preparer need to use the scan document program in order to use the portal? I know you mentioned how they kind of intersect there at the end. Maybe you could talk about that part. That'd be great.
Sure. So from the taxpayer standpoint, if they need to upload a document for the preparer to look at, or they need to see that, the scan document feature inside of TaxSlayer Pro Online is where those uploaded documents are housed. So the preparer themselves, that's where they would go inside the return to locate those uploaded documents by the taxpayer.
All right. I think we are good for the moment, and obviously any additional questions that we weren't able to get to now, we'll go ahead and make sure they're responded to in the